What's up, everyone? This is DR with the WoW Breakdown 101 and coming in with our third installment of Raid Battles of World of Warcraft history, where I'm going to be pitting some of the toughest bosses against each other to decide which boss was actually tougher during content. So, who actually is going to come out on top? Will those vanilla raiding prove to be the pinnacle of raid difficulty, or will BC reign supreme in all things, including toughest raid bosses? Will all those Wrath Baby and current raiding bosses prove to be the paperweight loot dropping pushovers that so many claim the newer raid bosses to be? Well, this is how we're going to find out, my friends. Each battle will be a 7-round fight to judge the winner. In the first round, we will go over the strats to down the boss and determine which strat was the hardest to determine the winner of that round. Round 2 will be an individual damage abilities that the boss does, and whichever boss's individual damage ability poses the most threat will win in that round. The third round will be the raid-wide damaging abilities that pose the largest threat to killing your raid. The fourth round will be which boss posed the hardest job for the DPS role. The fifth round will go to whichever boss was hardest on the tank role. The sixth round will go to whichever boss was harder on the heals roles. And the seventh and final round will be which boss's mechanics was the most difficult to raids to learn and get their heads around. At the end of the fight, the boss with the most rounds will be declared the winner. This next matchup is a request from the community. Art writes in that he wants to see these two epic final bosses match off against one another. I will remain true to the contest even though the first contender is by far my favorite raid boss of all time. There are a few raid bosses that even deserve to stand on the same ground as this king of bosses. So, without further ado, here he comes. Hailing from the wrath of the Lich King, Lord of the Scourge, ass-kicker of Kil'Jaeden, and the most badass character to grace World of Warcraft is none other than Arthas the Lich King! Blizzard has done this boss the correct justice in the limited number of attempts to ensure that he remained undefeated for as long as possible, almost pushed this boss into history as the only true boss to never be defeated in its unnerfed state. The only guild to down this boss did so just 1 week before the 5% raid-wide buff came into play in ICC. The pool count was technically at about 180 pools, however that pool count does not include the alt raids that the guild used as practice before running their mains. Is there going to be a boss that can actually stand their ground against the Lich King? Well, his opponent hailing from the Burning Crusades, and he may not have kicked Kil'Jaeden's ass, but he sure did put the ultimate fear on him, causing Kil'Jaeden to flee to the Outlands in hopes of getting away from him. Possibly the least seen boss during content, Kil'Jaeden. The lack of catch-up gearing meant the guilds had to progress from the very first raid in Burning Crusade all the way to this raid, which was the last raid in the expansion. This left a raid that has been seen by the fewest people of any raid instance put out in World of Warcraft history. Blizzard realized this as a problem as they wanted more people to see the raid instances that they had created, so started the long journey to get more people involved into raiding, which has led up to where we are now. Getting into round 1, we were going to size up the common strategy to determine which strategy was the hardest to master during content. Lich King is coming in with a strategy that has to be perfected in order to even think about having a shot at downing this boss. He consisted of 3 phases with 2 transition phases, and in the third phase he pulled your raid into the Frostmourne, which can also be considered a phase in itself. During phase 1, your main tank had to tank the Lich King toward the edge of the platform to give the raid time to react and reposition for the transition phase. You had adds that dealt large amounts of damage that had to be picked up by the off tanks, and they had so much life that if DPS was to focus them down they would hit the erasure timer, so you had to use a necrotic plague mechanic to help take out these adds. However, you had to be careful not to let the plague jump too many times, as the Lich King got a damage debuff each time necrotic plague jumps. Not to mention one of the most hilarious mechanics in the encounter, and the most hilarious way to die, there were void zones that if people stepped on it would blow them and everyone near the trap off by 1,000 yards. During the transition phase, your raid had to stand at the edge of the platform, and you had adds to deal with that had knockoff mechanics if they reached your raid, and not to mention that if you did not get off the platform in time when the next phase started, it would disappear, dropping you to your demise. During phase 2, you had to position in such a way that you had time to DPS the Valkyries down fast enough so that they would not drop the person that they grabbed off the edge of the platform. Also, you had to move out a defile as it would grow in size, making it difficult to position, and would very often cover the entire platform, leading to a wipe. Phase 3 was a race to the finish, and a very hard one at that. Phase 3 required a lot of moving, as you would have to drag the Lich King back and forth across the platform. Then once you was inside of the Frostmourne, you had to ensure that no one died, as a death would buff the Lich King, causing him to do 200% more damage for 15 seconds, and this stacks. What a round we have so far, as Kil'Jaeden actually is coming in with a strategy that is every bit as extensive as this one. Kil'Jaeden has 5 phases himself that the raid has to deal with. On the pool, you had to separate the 3 hands of the Deceiver and DPS them down while staying out of the 30-yard Shadow Bolt volleys, if at all possible. Phase 2, Kil'Jaeden comes in with the most dramatic boss entrance that I have ever seen, and never got old during content, I'm sure. Wiping on this boss must have been a joy, because I know I'd never tire of his entrance. Basically, DPS the shield orbs and the boss during this phase. Phase 3 was basically a DPS race, as you had to push him to 55% before the 3rd Darkness of 1,000 Souls cast. I tell you, so far it's not looking good for Kil'Jaeden, not looking good at all. Wait a minute, you may be thinking he has vehicle mechanics, which means people have to learn the vehicle. However, this is not even the same ballpark as Reshape Life on the Amber Shaper. Reshape Life had an interrupt mechanics that had to keep the raid alive, was purely random, but these Dragon Orbs only had the abilities that had to be used to help heal damage and shield the raid, and you could choose who to send in. And this round is over, my friends, as the strategy for this boss is nowhere near as punishing as the Lich King. Heading into round 2, the Lich King is coming out like a boss with his most dangerous individual damage ability called Shadow Traps. If Kil'Jaeden steps on one of these, then it's going to be game over, my friends, as I'm sure this ability has killed more people than any other raid ability out there. I'm sure many of you have seen your buddies going flying over 1,000 yards off the edge of the platform by not moving from this ability. Now I'm going to throw this one at you guys. Think about this for a second. His second most dangerous ability, single target that is, none other than his melee attacks. Yes, you heard me right. The Lich King was so badass that 2 melee attacks could drop a well-geared tank on 25-player heroic difficulty. Your main tank had to be a good, strong tank, and your heals had to ensure that the main tank remained at full life at all times. And his melee damage attacks hit so hard that it only took one small slip-up and your tank was dead, which was a guaranteed wipe, as just one thing went wrong in the heroic encounter and you was in for it, my friends. What's this? Kil'Jaeden is bobbing and weaving around the shadow traps as he is taking heavy melee hits to his face. Kil'Jaeden fires out with Soul Flay, which deals 3,000 shadow damage per second and reduces the movement speed. This ability is usually channeled on the person with the highest threat, and oh shit, you just guessed it, Kil'Jaeden just was launched over 1,000 yards out of the arena. He stepped on a soul trap. This one is over with the Lich King taking round number 2. Now a quick message from our sponsors as we wait for Kil'Jaeden's return. What's up, everyone? This is DR with the WoW Breakdown 101, your source for point of view guides. Here at our community, we're here to help you become a better raider and a better player while having fun at the same time. We have started 2 nights of raid training per week to help people that have never raided or don't get to raid much, to help them get their feet wet and learn how to raid. If you want to learn how to play and you've been watching videos but you can't quite grasp the concept of it, or you're not performing very well, or you're getting kicked from raid groups, then these events will be for you. Let's face it, a lot of people learn better with hands-on experience, and that is okay. That's what we want to do here at the WoW Breakdown 101 community. We're going to be raiding Wednesdays Flex 8:30 server, and we'll run Sundays normal mode raid training at 7:30 server, and this is both Eastern Standard Time and Alliance only at the moment. We will be getting a Horde Guild in the community shortly, hopefully. So any Horde Guilds out there that would like to help out in this event, then just give me a message at thewowbreakdown@gmail.com. Leave a comment in the YouTube section below, or get a hold of us on Facebook. Okay, so now I'm going to explain how these events are going to work. And both events are going to work exactly the same. The Flex Raid Training and the normal Raid Training will work exactly the same. We are going to work with you to teach you the mechanics, teach you how to raid, how to get past the encounters. We're also going to be running World of Logs during these encounters. And then we're going to upload the World of Logs to our Eternity of Sins Guild World of Logs site, so that we can tell you, so we'll take a look at it. Myself will take a look, Kron will take a look, some of the others in the community will take a look and see where you can improve in your DPS, where you can improve as a healer, and where you can improve at tanking. Now, one thing to keep in mind, there's not going to be any bragging about DPS. There's not going to be any nasty, vile behavior. I don't want to see any behavior in the raid where people are putting down somebody for the lack of damage, lack of performance. This is not progression-based event. This is an event to have fun. This is an event to teach people how to raid. So if you do want to help out, just keep that in mind. We're not here to belittle. We're not going to tolerate any nasty behavior. We're here to have fun. We're here to teach people. We're here to create a nice, friendly environment for people to learn in. If you're interested in joining these events, then follow us on Facebook, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and look for our posts in the World of Warcraft group on Facebook, which I have linked below. Or, if you want to, click here. Nope, wait a minute, right here. Click here for the Facebook page. Click here to join the World of Warcraft group to find our post. And click here to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Yep, somewhere in here. Come on, where you at? Woohoo! There it is, right there. That's all the time that I have, guys. So have fun, enjoy, and hope to see you at future raid events. Ciao. It looks as though Kil'Jaeden has regained his composure as we come back into this third round with the Lich King promptly up 2 rounds to 0. The Lich King is coming out swinging hard with his Remorseless Winter ability, which deals around 10,000 damage to everyone standing on the platform every second during the 2 transition phases. Now it has to be said that this raid-wide damage ability is very easy to avoid, but it does create issues with the amount of space that you have in other abilities and the ads. However, it looks like Kil'Jaeden is chuckling at the Lich King as he stands just outside of his Remorseless Winter, coming in with his most dangerous raid-wide damage ability, and yes, he demolishes the Lich King this round with Darkness of 1,000 Souls. Apart from a badass named ability, he channels an 8-second cast that does 47,500 to 52,500 damage to the entire raid, one-shotting everyone. The only way to survive this during content was to have the person with the dragon shield the entire raid. If you did not push Kil'Jaeden fast enough and ran out of dragon orbs, it was game over as this ability ended most of the pools against him. A much needed round goes to Kil'Jaeden as we head into round number 4 with the Lich King up 2 rounds till Kil'Jaeden's 1. Stepping back into round number 4 with the DPS difficulty is actually looking fairly even as both bosses are pushing DPS to their limits to get past certain parts of the encounter. The sheer amount of life and length of the Lich King fight was a marathon of near perfection performance that the DPS had to push out. And Kil'Jaeden's abilities forced the DPS to perform at a high level to ensure that the raid did not die to a Darkness of 1,000 Souls. Both encounters had very difficult mechanics to handle along with multiple target priorities. This round is going to be a tough one to decide, but it looks like the Lich King has just clinched this round in the closing minutes. Kil'Jaeden is in serious trouble in this bout. Does this demon have enough demonic power to come back, or will he be treading water in this fight and have to retreat to the Nether? We shall see as we head into round number 5 with the Lich King smelling blood up 3 rounds to 1. And we step back into round number 5. The Lich King is on the strike and it looks like he may put this one away, and yes he does! As the fight is now out of reach for Kil'Jaeden as the tank difficulty in the Lich King encounter was just too much for Kil'Jaeden to counter. The main tank had the daunting task of surviving the onslaught of the Lich King as he receives various damage buff from sources in the encounter. The off tank had no easy task either, as he or she would have to handle very dangerous ads, and not to mention the main tank would have to taunt the large shambling ads from the off tank if it stayed alive for too long. This encounter was one of the most difficult raid encounters on tanks that Blizzard has ever created. Now Kil'Jaeden is out of range of the win now with the Lich King up 4 rounds to 1, and the final 2 rounds are going to the Lich King as well. The healer difficulty that the Lich King posed was immense. One healer had to be dedicated to just keeping the main tank alive, and you had to have perfect dispels on the raid members with necrotic plague on them. Finally, the last round mechanic difficulty was obviously going to the Lich King as well. Only one guild was able to make that mark with a pre-nerf kill, as this boss was not bugged or broken, just a very punishing fight, and possibly the most difficult raid encounter right up there with Heroic Firelands Ragnaros. So here's your winner by the most lopsided victory yet, 6 rounds to 1. Heroic Lich King! If you disagree with me, which I'm sure there are some of you that will, or many of you that will, then leave a comment in the section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, then give it a like and share. Subscribe to help me put out more content for you guys. Have suggestions for future raid battles of World of Warcraft history that you would like to see, then leave them in the comments section below, or email me at thewowbreakdown@gmail.com, and see you again next time, guys.